Let's talk, because you obviously touched again there on gatekeepers. Let's talk about some of the incredible scientists who you focus on in the book. There are so many of them, and so many that we just don't talk nearly enough about. But definitely Hedy Lamarr is such a cool...
Hedy Lamarr.
Hedy Lamarr, such a cool woman. Tell us a little bit about her.
She is very cool. I mean, everyone here looks old enough to watch it. There's a over 18s only film about her life called Bombshell that has recordings of her voice. You're nodding because you know the kind of over 18s thing. And I work with a lot of children, so I can't tell them about Bombshell.
Everyone's over 18 here, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. There's a documentary called Bombshell about her life that has recordings of her as well. She was an actress. I won't spoil the film for you. Actually, I mean, you can read it on Wikipedia if you want. But she was an actress, top of her game. Some say she's who Betty Boop was based on. She was incredibly beautiful. At one point, Hitler wanted to be with her. Like,
that's when you've made it. Like, Hitler wants to.
The story is so wild about this woman, but she ended up in Hollywood. She ran to Hollywood because of that.
Yeah,
and
escape her stalker.
And I mean, and he worked with her anyway. She was married at that point. Anyways, so she ends up in Hollywood. She'd been acting in Austria and in Germany. Works in Hollywood. Is a very, very keen physicist. So she's acting, top of her game, beautiful woman, learning her lines, doing all of that, doing physics, casually doing so much physics that she casually, and I shouldn't say casually, so she properly, fully co-invents frequency hopping spread spectrum technology. Which, if there are any physicists here, give me a whoop whoop. If not...
Not a single one? What do you guys all do?
If not, you've heard of Wi-Fi?
Have you heard of Wi-Fi?
Anyone here heard of Bluetooth?
Yeah.
So it's the technology that underpins that. And she does that during her life. And Bombshell is it's so frustrating actually listening and watching to Bombshell, because they're like, no, shut up and just say your lines. You're pretty. That's what I want to hear from you. What is this physics crap that you're talking about? And so we literally have Wi-Fi now because of this Hollywood woman that we should. I mean, Wi-Fi is on the bottom of the Maslow's hierarchy.
Yes, of needs. Yeah, it's that important.
And it's like we should thank Hedy every time we connect to Wi-Fi.
We should worship her. We should say a little.
We see it as so. We should say a prayer for Hedy, because and we see it so masculine, so technical, so whatever. It's like, no, we literally have that because of a woman. And all of these stories have been erased, and there's so many of them. Once you kind of start to peel it back, you're like, oh, GPS, Gladys West. I did my Radio 4 takeover this December, just gone, New Year's Eve actually just gone. We got to talk to Gladys, who was a mathematician, grew up on a farm in the US. We was like, oh my goodness, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I have to learn something out. Maybe maths will be my ticket out. Ends up working on satellites, using her maths, triangles, and she's the reason we have GPS today. And it's so secret that she didn't even realize that her technology. So her daughter had bought her a Garmin a couple of years before they discovered it was her, and the Garmin obviously has GPS built in. She didn't recognize her own technology and that she built, because it was so top secret what she was working on in the US Navy. And it's like every time you're following that blue dot, granted, not always in perfect of places, but it's not all Gladys's fault. You
have to kind of give it a wiggle to figure out which direction you're pointing.
Right. Yeah. But most it's fine. And again, we have that blue dot because of Gladys, right? And so there's all these things where it's like, actually, when you peel it back, it's like, no, this is not a new thing that women do tech. And it's why the subtitle is For Women Take Back Tech. There's so much that we've done, so instrumental that we've been. And the erasure of that history means that the Gladyses, the Adas, the others today are not able to step into what that is, because they feel like they're the first ever. They feel like they're the only. They feel alone. They feel alienated. It's pretty much just the dead white guys with beards. That we love told them about the tech. And as much as we overlove them, I think.
Well, no, I mean, we love them too much. Yeah, exactly.
Way too much.
We're obsessed with them.
You can tell that story of the apple or the bathtub or the whatever 10 million times over, but that's not the full story.
Definitely not.
And the more you tell that story, the more you reinforce that that's what success looks like. And so I will never be a dead white guy with a beard. It's not something I'm building up to, it's something I'm working on. And yet there's still so much that I can contribute.
Absolutely. It doesn't hold you back not having the beard.
I mean, the beard, again, beard, but like it shouldn't be, that shouldn't be the prerequisite, but that's what we end up saying is the definition of success.
100%.
And stories are so important. Again, I'm really hoping, hey folks at home, like no one's upset or triggered by this, but 1966, what happened in 1966? Anyone? World Cup, right? The men's team won the World Cup. And every time there's a cup, football's really coming home, football's coming home, football's coming home. From 1966, football's coming home.
We've been desperate.
That story has lived on so much that we literally, like, we mean it when we say football's coming home. That's just one story, and football still hasn't come home. And I don't want to comment too much on it, but
well, it could come home this summer when the women goes the Women's World Cup this summer. So maybe the Lionesses will bring it home.
And without deviating too much, have we even told the story about the Lionesses?
No, exactly.
Have we told the story about how women's football was much more popular than men's football?
It was before the World Wars, yeah.
And that was and it was like, well, we can't have that, and so we're going to close it. And it's like,
and that's the really, when you look at these different areas where, I mean, because obviously there is a certain amount of women aren't in certain industry because there was a lot of pressure for them not to be, because they weren't allowed to go to university, all this kind of stuff. But looking at the computing industry and the way in which women were so in it, were the ones who were doing all of the software engineering, the ones who were involved on the computers that were being developed and were getting bigger and bigger. And then were quite literally, guys were like, this is the future, and like said goodbye to the women and kicked them out.